Hi there. You asked me to try to explain the diatonic scale and how it affects singers and the way that singers behave. So I thought I'd give you some examples about that. But before I do, I wanted to mention that most people today have forgotten that the human voice is the center of all music. Um, just as poetry simplifies human speech patterns, so music simplifies the pitch patterns that people speak. Most people today don't even realize that when they speak, they're actually singing. Ba-dum-dum-dum, ba-bum-bum-bum. They're actually singing. Ba-bum-bum-ba-dum, ba-da-da-da-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum, bum, ba-ba-bum. So you just make a song from the way that you speak, but it's simplified, just like poetry is. So if you look at Calvert Watkins' How to Slay a Dragon, and all those books, they talk about how poetry was originally created as a magic spell, trying to get your body to work with the earth. So it's simplified. It's not, poetry isn't better. It's just a way of organizing speech very simplistically, as music is. Uh, Over time, because of the force of uh, instruments over time, especially in Britain. Uh, this British conservatory mentality of instruments being superior to the human voice has kind of taken over things. So today people don't even realize that there should be no difference between speech and song. So if you make a difference, then often that difference is in your throat. You're going like this, hi, kumbaya, my lord. But you don't talk like that. You say, kumbaya, my lord, how are you? You know, come by here, Lord. So you just speak, hi, how are you? Kumbaya, my lord. Kumbaya, my lord. Now I'm speaking on a particular pitch. Kumbaya, my lord. Kumbaya. I'm just talking. It doesn't really matter what I'm talking about or what the pitch is. I'm just changing my pitch as I have something to say. So speech and song is really very close. If you change it, then you're being artistic, and the diatonic scale is really the cause for that, and the development that's happened over the years. So if you look at the diatonic scale, you'll see that there are today, with an equally tempered scale, half steps. So you'll have F and E. So as you have chordal progressions underneath the melody, you'll have the chords being dissonant, consonant, dissonant, consonant. And the dissonance will resolve itself. And often the melody is on a half step interval that will resolve by a half step to make a consonant chord. So for instance, a 5-7 chord resolves to the 1. So you'll put that half step in the melody. So you now have an instrumentalist hearing dissonance and consonance, and because they're not speaking, they'll try to exaggerate that difference and try to make it just as painful as possible when they're on a dissonant chord and then resolve to a consonant chord. So singers now think that they're supposed to be instruments, they're supposed to be cool, they're supposed to do all these things, everything except try to communicate. So they're making a difference between speech and music by becoming an instrumentalist, and on those dissonant chords behaving like an instrument and squeezing the bejazzes out of their throat, their air, and everything to make the sound as dissonant and as harsh as possible. So, and that's everywhere. That's in gospel music, it's in popular music, it's in art music, it's in opera, it's in musical theater particularly, it's in church music now, it's everywhere. And I say that in contrast to, for instance, where I live here in Cape Breton, they used to have a song tradition. It's now completely gone. The song tradition in Cape Breton is gone. They just have rhythmic music and this dissonance and consonance sequence. But the old people, which they still have in the archives on the recording, would just talk the song. And when you talk the song, you have a certain relaxation to your throat. And most instrumentalists believe that vibrato is what happens when you add an embellishment. But to a singer, there's always vibrato. It happens all the time. But most people don't know that. What they hear is when there's something exaggerated or something that's larger than life, they then hear the vibrato. So when you sing really loudly, you can hear the vibrato. Or when you don't have it and then add it, you hear it. But when you speak naturally, you always have it, but it's fairly small, but it's always there. So if you listen to Martin Luther King Jr., when he speaks, he declaims, and you hear his voice, and he speaks, me, and you can hear the vibrato in his voice when he speaks loudly. Um, Barack Obama doesn't do that. He speaks in a very clipped conversational manner because he's not declaiming, but it's still there. So when singers they hear instrumentalists do that, they also want to do that. But um, how can I explain this? When you speak, if that's the model, your exhalation is uneven. So your airflow goes up and then down. You have more airflow in the middle of your exhalation than at the beginning or the end. And because of that, Bernoulli's equation and such, you get higher pitches in the middle and then down. You get the phrase being louder and quieter. You get it faster and slower. So it increases and then decreases. So you have that arc of higher pitches, louder, faster and slower. All these things happen so subtly that you don't hear it unless it's not there and it's completely rhythmic or without any vibrato whatsoever. So when you hear singers sing and they're on this dissonance to consonance progression, it'll sound something like this. Pick a song. In German, du holde Kunst. And you see what I'm doing when I say du holde Kunst? Du holde Kunst, you wonderful art. Du holde Kunst in wieviel trauen Stunden. Du hold. I didn't go, du holde Kunst. You hear how I'm controlling the vibrato? Du holde Kunst. Or the way that it used to be, where you say the song, si canta come, si parla, or in Gaelic, aber aran, you say the song, you get do, holde Kunst. You hear how I have vibrato through everything? But it's not just vibrato, it's overtones. I have overtones on every note, but I have that when I speak. So, du holde Kunst in wie, a little too low. Du holde Kunst, du holde, I'm just talking loudly. Du holde Kunst in wie. Du holde Kunst, du holde Kunst, du holde, du holde Kunst. Hear the difference? That squeezing and release is what the diatonic scale does to singers. It shifts them from trying to speak the song to trying to sing the song and be cool. So there's a lot of detrimental effects that are caused by folk singers today because they're not actually folk. They're not people. They're wannabes, slang expression. They want to be like those people, but they come from a diatonic tradition. So they squeeze and release their voices all the time. So they add diatonic music to the natural scale, the folk music scale, and squeeze and release, squeeze and release, squeeze and release. Like, kumbaya, my lord, kumbaya. You hear this, the tension? I'm holding my breath, I'm squeezing my throat, I'm going like this. But you don't talk like this. You talk like this. Kumbaya, my lord, kumbaya, kumbaya, my lord, kumbaya. And so when you sing it like that, I'm trying to communicate. So when you're composing, Martin, when you're composing, you need to look at how much dissonance you want in the music and to make sure that the singer doesn't squeeze and release their voices if it's communicative. If you want people to dance and have fun, then just like a Porsche de Ville, just squeal the bejazzes out of things and just make it very rhythmic. But if you want to communicate and speak, that rhythm isn't necessary. It's only necessary for the instrumentalists who want to accompany. But why would you want them to accompany you? They're not speaking. So that's very contrary to Western European art music tradition, which is you have to have accompaniment or else why would you sing? But if singing is an imitation of speech, why don't you just talk? If you just try to talk, as I was taught in the Italian school, your voice works. You can sing as loudly as you want. You can sing as quietly as you want. Everything works. But as you're composing, you have to be careful about those dissonant and consonant half-step intervals and how they often make them short. Um, shall we gather by the river? So instead of shall we gather by the river? Shall we gather by the river? The river, the river. Hear the difference? One is with vibrato, one is relaxed, and there's a balance, and the other is where there is no balance. You have subglottal pressure a lot, so you can see the tension in my voice, in my throat. I'm going like this to my throat. Shall we gather by the river? See the tension? River. It's a river. River. My voice is completely different, and it's a lot of that has to do with microphones, the overtones they can pick up, uh, the radio, what comes through on a speaker. You can't hear overtones on a speaker very well, or it can't be captured by a microphone. So the entire musical spectrum is shifting over to instruments which don't communicate a story very well. Um, so from your position, the best that I can recommend is try not to make the dissonant notes too short, or else they'll just squeal and bark on them. A modern singer might sing, shall we gather by the river where bright angels feet have trod. They're trying to be cool, so they're only singing little bits and pieces. They're not trying to say the words, which are, shall we gather by the river where bright angels' feet have trod? Shall we? Shall we go? Shall we gather by the river where bright angels' feet have trod? And they don't try to sing. So on those short notes, shall we gather, you should have spin. And if you don't have spin and you just bark on them and bounce on them, one of my teachers said was orphaning them. You orphan them. You throw them away because they're not important. But when you speak, they're important. Shall we gather by the river where bright angels' feet have trod, with its crystal tide, instead of crystal tide forever. That's bouncing. You don't do that when you speak. Instruments do that to have interest in the music because they're just, they're crowders. They're just sawing away. They have no idea that they're saying anything, or even that they used to be imitating human speech patterns, like in the Baroque era. They've forgotten. So anyway, that's what I was trying to mention to you, is that um, on the half-step differences, you get singers squealing instead of actually trying to say something. So when you compose, try not to have short notes, or they'll start barking. And English in particular, being a stress time language, people start to bark. Italian is wonderful because you exhale and the shorter syllables have more volume to them. So it's easier to sing with vibrato. That's why people, besides the fewer number of syllables, or vowels rather, people like singing in Italian because you just exhale all the way through. That's what legato means. You exhale. Legato is with the breath, not with the voice. And people today they don't even know what legato is. Particularly art singers and opera singers actually aren't singing with legato today, and they're squealing, especially sopranos. You can hear them like the Queen of the Night. Oh my God, they just squeal and then release, squeal and release, which really hurts your voice because if you're putting all that tension on your voice when so much air is going through, you can really hurt yourself. So in any event, that's what I wanted to say to you, Martin, about the diatonic scale and the dangers of composing when you have those half-step intervals from B to C or from F to E. When you're on that and there's a dissonant chord and they'll want to resolve, they'll go with their body here and in their air, and they're also all their tongues are also all tight now. So Shinakave, there you go.